welcome to Makeover Your Life. I'm Kiri Davies, and today I've got a special, wonderful guest, a surprise just for you. I'd like to welcome Kiki Divaris, and she's a multi-talented woman, and I'd like to really, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you, Kiki.
How are you?
Fine, yeah. It's a pleasure to have you on my program, and I'm greatly honored with the presence.
Thank you for asking me.
Yes, and I know, Kiki, you are such a, you've done so many wonderful things, not only for children and for, for many other people. You've touched lives and you've had, so much great history behind you. And, I know the viewers and myself would love to know more about the things that you've actually done, especially in the past. Just maybe take us through on your background.
I was lucky to always be involved with women who are talented. Maybe I should say not lucky. I saw to it that I was with women who were always better than myself, and I was just the worker behind.
You've actually been involved in beauty contests, and I know the big Miss Zimbabwe that we know.
Beauty contest was a thing that I got involved later on in my life. The whole idea that what the beauty contest was, that I'd raised money for charity. I led the Hellenic ladies after taking over from my sister-in-law, who was a very wonderful woman, and my mother-in-law. And she worked with the Queen of Greece, so she was an example to me. And we used to do, I thought fundraising, fashion shows were a very easy way of doing it, getting people together, and showing beautiful things. This was in the older days. And then I realized, my husband said, why don't you do it in the evening? And then said we could all come along and see. And we did, and they were even more successful. And the thing is that dealing with beautiful women was fun for me. I'll tell you what it is. I believe that whatever God has given you, you must use.
Yes.
Somebody said to me the other day, she says, you've never used your talents. I said, I've used them in my life. You use them in your life.
Yes.
Don't you?
Yes, you do.
I mean, what are they there for? Just for making money? Yeah. I mean, it's not always for making money. It's also having fun.
Yes, of course. It's nice to have fun in the process. And I think also not only do you have the passion for that, you also have passion for children.
Definitely.
In the past, you had been involved with Mayim Kabe, the very first Mayim Kabe. And of course, now you also, you've known Grace Mkabe as well. Grace Mkabe.
Well,
isn't that wonderful? How does it feel to be in the public eye all the time?
I worked with Amai, and I was very, very lucky to have had the opportunity. I remember when she came to the house to ask me to work with her, and my husband was inside, and he says, what did she want? I said, darling, she wants me to work with her. I said, what greater honor than, it was just after, a year after independence, than to work with the First Lady, because if you want to do something and you're passionate for children and charity and all that, if you got the opportunity to work with somebody like that and respect them, and then I think you can achieve a lot, because she's the First Lady of this land. And our new First Lady, well, I mean, it's another generation. She's young. Yes. She could be my daughter. And I think she's very beautiful. Yes. I think she's the young woman with all the qualifications, and she knows how to dress. So I mean, I don't work with her all the time, but I do think I admire her, and she is lovely. And I'm very pleased that the president's got a beautiful lady next to him.
Sounds interesting life. And you did an interesting background. I mean, meeting all those people, famous people. Well, you can mention a few that you've met, famous people.
Well, I want
in
to
your
tell you, with the life that my dad had, and the life that with Tony, I have really met some wonderful people. And the better they are, the more educated they are, the higher position they have, the more humble they are. Yeah. I tell you, and I've noticed that in my life. And I do think investments are not in things, in people. What I agree is that that's how you are, accept it, make the best of it, and be happy. I mean, after all, it's not only looks, having fun, but above all, loving people.
That's one of the things that you have, you have as part of your personality. Your person was very open-minded, which I think a lot of women do admire. At the same time, very intelligent woman. It's nice for us to learn from you about what you've done, especially going back to Miss Zimbabwe. You've actually had, Caroline Morinda, and all those other contestants that these women
some of the girls have stayed with me. they stayed with me, and it's quite experience for them, and they were rather surprised to see there's a different person in the background. And then, you know, because you've got to be real.
Yes,
in your home, with your husband.
Yes.
And I like them to see how I am with my husband.
That's right, that's wonderful.
But of course, my biggest luck was my husband. Did you know that?
Oh, wow.
Oh, yes. I gave up going to university straight away, and as soon as he arrived, and he sat in the lounge with his mother, my mother decided that was the man I should marry, in her own mind. And of course, I was ready to go to university. But he himself, my mom and him, and no idea to get married at 20. I mean, for God's sake, you know, I thought I was far too young. And he was so serious. But in those days, you know, moms did give a bit of advice. And I think women should be friends with their mothers.
Oh, yeah.
They always have a little something that you learn.
They learn from.
But I think I was a bit of a snob when I was a young girl. I didn't want to chase any man. He had to chase me. Like he did.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, he's a very, very clever man and down to earth.
Down to earth, that's nice.
Yes. And he saw what he lacked. I don't know. I think he liked what I had. Maybe.
Yeah, he did.
And my mom said to me, because I was very outgoing, like I am now, I was at the age, from a young woman, very outgoing, and for a Greek girl, you have to sit there and pretend you're a Virgin Mary. I want to tell you, you see, that was that time.
That's those times.
Yes, but I couldn't. I mean, you know, I had to. If I wanted to talk, I wanted to talk. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. Although mommy said no smoking, no drinking, and no boyfriends, and I can assure you, I didn't do them.
Oh, that's good, hey?
Because there was big punishment if I did.
If you did.
But I used to cover up when my friends did, and I never used to say anything.
And you know, most of the time people, you know, confuse us. They always call me Kiki. And do they ever called you Kiri?
Well, I wish I was like you. I'm your granny. You are my daughter.
You know, flattered when they do, you know, mistake me for you. I said, oh, that's nice. Maybe we all want to know, you know, how you started from right from the beginning, the humble beginnings. As a child, where you were born, and how you grew up, and where?
I was born in Greece, in the heart of the Peloponnese, and Mistra. It's a very famous. Well, it was a very big city in the Byzantine times, and it's a town. It's a big village, shall I say now, but it has a lot of visitors going to see it because it's very historical.
What made you come to Zimbabwe?
Well, no, it was my dad.
Oh, your dad was.
My dad went. He was one of the Greeks who went to the diaspora, like you go. He was going to go to America, and then somebody said to him, "Why don't you go to Cape Town?" So he came to Cape Town, and I was brought up in Cape Town. I left Greece at the age of 8. When he came out, after 4 or 5 years, he brought his family out. So I really went to school and was brought up in Cape Town.
This is your home, and I've been seeing a lovely big house, very spacious, and you're really a creative woman, eh?
I loved art, I loved dancing, I loved anything that was full of joy. At school, it was history, gymnastics, art, sports, those were the things. And I could never sit still. I still can't sit still. It must have been something in my genes. And so I really had quite an active life from a little girl. And I was the first granddaughter with my grandmother's name. You know, it's a very big traditional thing with the Greeks. The first daughter of the son is named after his mother. Yes, I've also got a Kiki Divaris in my family. And so I went to dancing, and of course that was then in and out the house dancing. And I remember Espinosa examined us the first year. He was from France. He used to examine the whole of South Africa. And I did very well. I was chosen as, you know, I don't know what he did. He measured and he said, I'm 5'2", I've got a long neck, long arms, and I'll be a perfect ballerina. And Sadler's Wells was not on there. And he told my dad, and my dad was so excited. My mom said, what? A ballerina? No, she's going to have boyfriends. All that. Mommy's whole life was meant to protect me from
Because you're so
from
beautiful.
getting into trouble. And the last thing I ever had in my mind was wanting to have boyfriends.
Yeah, okay, that's great.
I loved being with girls. Did you know that?
Yes. And then, well, I can see with the way you've been like inspiring a lot of women. You have had a lot of women that you inspired.
And I love being with beautiful women.
Yes.
And I do. I enjoy it.
You enjoy it. That's great. So, with
That's
when you
why
met
I'm
your
here with
husband,
you.
That's right. That's why we're here. So, when you met your husband, was it love at first sight?
No, I didn't fall in love with him. I walked in the room, I was getting ready to go to university. I was going to do art and dress designing and everything at Cape Town University. And then he was looking, was very serious. I never even thought I would marry him. And his mom was very haughty. I had a most wonderful mother-in-law, a real aristocrat, a Greek from Romania. And he was her favorite son.
Okay.
And my mom had a look at him and her, how he treated his mother, so she made up her mind. So Tony was visiting us every second day. So I said to my mom, what are you doing? Why is this young man come? Are you trying to make a match? I said, I'm not getting married unless somebody must love me. It was very important to me. I don't mind if he admired other women or that, but I wanted to know that I was the woman in his life.
That's
it's hard work,
It is hard work to keep the love alive.
No, it is. Well, I was prepared to work for it. I didn't want... In those days, men had the wives and they had the girlfriend as well. Don't think that it was only the African community had many wives. Everybody.
Everybody did, yeah.
Well, they have the little flirt. And the
Interesting.
one thing I wanted was that I wanted to get married. I must be loyal to him. He must be loyal to me. That's not an issue. I thought it would just be like mom and dad. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's very important. I think we should get back to that.
Yeah.
It's a safety thing. You're not worried about it. He doesn't worry if I say I'm going out and I'm going to have lunch with so-and-so. He knows we're doing something together.
That's right.
We are either fundraising or we're arranging something.
You wanted the spirit.
Yeah, I mean, don't you have that relationship with your husband?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I saw it.
So you have, what's your secret to a good marriage? I know you've been married for years, and
The
I'm sure
secret
many
to a-
women would love to hear
The secret
that.
to a good marriage is, first from the beginning, just have a look whether you really match up. I was, I grew up with a lot of people, and Tony was a big loner, and he knew, he's 8 years older than me, and he knew that he lacked that, and he wanted that in his
What a
life.
company.
And my mom saw that I was outgoing, and the only Greek who will understand me is a well-educated Greek.
Of
I mean,
course.
if I married somebody who wasn't. And Daddy said, no, I've got one daughter, she must marry a professional man, and I'm there for her. They all laid down what I should do, but I think God brought us together.
But how long does it take you to get ready in the morning? Did you just get
Very-
ready, your
very
makeup, your
quickly.
hair, everything?
Before I had a family, I had long hair with all curls and everything, and Mommy used to say, what you going to do when you've got children and all? It's funny how you adjust.
Amazing, yeah.
And the most important thing is to be able to adjust in life. I like all food, as long as it's got lots of lemon, pepper, salt. It's tasty. But I like everything.
And I love that Greek salad. Is it called tzatziki? Is it?
Tzatziki is
Tzatziki.
the one with the yogurt and the cucumber.
That's right.
And skordalja is with the garlic and the potato. And tarama is with the fish roe and the oil. I don't think the Greek cooking is as heavy as it used to be. All cuisines are influenced by people.
That's
Our
right.
cuisine was also influenced by the Turks.
Oh, right.
Yes,
Oh, interesting. Learn something every
And
day.
I hope to God now, I think maybe we should write a book and say, cooking in Zimbabwe with a Greek flavor.
Oh, yeah,
I
why
think
not?
Yes. But I think Greek cooking is quite popular, like Italian. We all note it for different things, you see.
Yeah, of course.
But it's very highly spiced. The lamb, we do the whole lamb, roast lamb. Yeah, as a matter of fact, Marvin fits it in. But where do you get lamb now?
With exercise, do you do any exercise in particular?
Yes, I do.
What do you normally do?
I look after my husband, and by the time I've got him right in the morning, I'm his nurse. I'm up inside, and from here to the kitchen, to the bathroom, to everything, by the time I've finished, I've done my exercise. I don't have to go and walk.
Right, and I know you've had a challenging life, with your, like you say, your husband's illness in the past. That's made you stronger though, hasn't it?
You see, you grow. You're born like that. You're taught by your parents this and this. My dad was very Greek, and so was my mom. Her English wasn't very good. I had to learn English when I came here, because in Europe they speak languages, but the last thing they spoke in those days in Greece was English. They spoke French and German. We're talking about 80 years ago. You weren't even a twinkle in your mom's eye. Yes. But fashions change, and of course today if you can't speak English, you know what they say.
That's right.
They say if you want to make love, you speak in French. If you want to do business, you speak in English. But if you want to speak to God, you must speak in Greek.
There's so much going on. There's so much life, I mean, I'm not saying that it's so active, and you're just sitting here looking at you.
You must be content with yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
And try and make the best of what isn't there.
Yes.
And another thing, if you're not happy within yourself, how can you make other people happy? You know what I mean? You must be happy.
Yes, that's
There must be something that you've got that you can work on. When I'm working, I'm happy. And if I haven't got anything to do, I can get myself very low. So I get up and get myself involved in something.
That's great.
To stimulate me.
Yeah, to stimulate you. So that explains why you look so young. I mean, you do
I
not
don't.
look your age.
As a matter of fact, lately, I don't look as young, but for God's sake, I'm 83.
Yeah,
what do you expect me to do?
83. I mean, you're 83. You don't look 83.
Oh wow!
You don't really. I have seen.
No, but anyway, I'm active for 83.
Oh, active for 83.
And if it wasn't my Greek community here, and the Greeks are very charitable, and they're very, very giving people.
That's right.
I wouldn't have achieved anything if it wasn't that I belonged to my Greek community. I'm very proud of that.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh yes, I'm
That's
very
nice
grateful to the community and to the fact that I didn't deny what I was, and I recommend that to anybody, whatever you are.
That's right.
From your village, you must never forget it.
Mrs Kiki Divaris, and she's really been inspiration to many young beauty queens and in the past years, and also she's involved in various charity organizations, and she's you've heard for yourself, and she's really enthusiastic, very warm, very loving woman. We're going to take a look at some of the clothes as well that Kiki Divaris did design at a time when she was just taking just only a spare time really, and just doing it as a hobby. How did you come up with this, with the designs? Was it something that came up in your mind at the time? Or?
No, well, always I designed my own clothes. After Dad spent a fortune to send me off to England with all these expensive clothes, I realized that it's all a farce.
Yeah, the first one. I mean, this gold and brown.
This dress is about 20 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
20?
And it'll never date.
It'll never
stretch.
I mean, you can hardly
it's
see.
macrame.
Nothing's fallen off.
It's knotted and knotted and knotted. And this was something that we started. I had a cooperative, one of the first cooperatives. I remember Ma even came to it, And I trained 20 women with John, who was an expert. He's still around.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and we're great friends.
Isn't
Only
that
now
lovely?
he owns 2 buses, I believe, and I'm so happy for him.
Wow.
We designed these, and I made the dress for Shirley that she wore in 1980.
Shirley Yanyiwa.
Yes, I didn't do the contest, but Lever Brothers were doing it, and I wanted her to wear one of these, and she looked outstanding in it.
In one of these.
She had such a beautiful. It was voted the most original dress in the world from that was in 1980.
Oh, wow. And this one?
And of course I was delighted. It was worn by an African girl.
Of course.
Can you imagine we have a Miss Zimbabwe and it's my daughter. We want 11.5 to how many million people here?
That's
Can't we
right.
find beautiful Africa?
Yeah.
And of course France was using our girls and we had to use them. They're beautiful.
I like the tassels down here.
Yes.
Shake, shake.
This
lovely.
takes about a month to make.
A month.
Standing in the same place.
In the
yes.
same place.
These are knotted. These
knotted.
went to Hollywood
All right.
Yes, and they wanted 500 of that, 10,000 of that, and I said, but it's one of a kind.
Yes,
And Bob
of course.
Bernard said to me, yes, but I've got 10,000 outlets in the whole world. But unfortunately, I would have had to give up everything in my life and sit
And
do
do
this.
it. Like you said to yourself, I wish I'd done it, or I would love to do one more thing in my life today. What would it be?
Well, what I want to do
Yes.
is to be able to carry on and not to be an old woman in bed, because then I must rather just die.
Oh,
I want to be active and be doing things.
Doing things, yeah.
As long as I'm doing something, and then I'm happy.
Thank you so much, Kiki, for coming to the program. And thank you all for watching. I'm Kiri Davies, and goodbye.